Welcome back to another episode of Tami Tackles Everything. It is taking everything for me to show up today because there is so much going on. But I recently started the gym, right guys? And I have just made this commitment to showing up to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, no matter what. I feel the same way about this podcast. So even when I don't have a guest or possibly even have thought through a topic to the ends of the earth, I am showing up in this space regardless. I want to say it's for you. I really do. But the truth is that it is also for me. And I need to really do this for myself and to just continue to show up in the ways that make me feel like me and make me feel alive and make me feel like I am still on my path and operating in my purpose. This is definitely a part of that for me. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for being a part of that process with me and somehow holding me accountable. Even though I know you guys are so great and you're the first people, if I couldn't make it today, to be like, Tami, it's fine. We'll catch up next week. So with that said, it is in the afternoon. I don't have on a watch and I've had a mega day. And I still was like, you know what? I'm going to take some time to talk about this particular thing because it's a part of why I had a mega day. Now, if you used to listen to my podcast, maybe you haven't, you've probably heard me say the term, or if you even follow me on Instagram, I have used the term multi-potentialite many times. Like I said, mega day. Multipotentialite. I really want to explore this topic a little bit with you. I really kind of want to discuss the concept of what being a multipotentialite looks like and how to thrive and embrace what it means to be a multipotentialite. I first just want to say that I heard this concept a few years back from a TED Talk, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of the person who did the talk, but I know that this person also coined the term multipotentialite. When I first heard it and heard this talk, I had what Oprah calls the aha moment. And I was like, oh, that's what's wrong with me. Or that's what's right with me. And I had this moment where I felt so seen and all of a sudden understood. And I all of a sudden had this other concept to explore, to explain why I was the way I was. So let's jump into it a little bit. So what is a multipotentialite? A multipotentialite is someone who has many different interests, passions, and abilities. They have the potential to excel in multiple fields and industries and have a tendency to learn and explore new skills. So if you're a multipotentialite, maybe you have experienced not necessarily fitting into a traditional career path, or maybe you're struggling to choose just one. You might even feel yourself drawn to different types of topics and you feel energized at the thought of learning new things. But the problem is, if you don't know this about yourself, sometimes you may be labeled as flighty or maybe even not serious, or you're kind of up in the clouds, or you never stick to one thing. And for many years, that's how I felt. I felt like I was fickle and somehow unable to stick to a path. But the truth is that once I had completed what I believe was my mission or purpose in any field, it was nothing for me to then feel like, okay, that is done. Let me move on to the next thing. So if I take this as far back as when, I don't know, I was a kid, I loved to sing, dance, act. I loved to paint. I love the idea of, making a meal for my family, which then turned into I wanted to be a teacher, which at one point I wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, it was a host of different things. But I was very lucky to have a parent or parents who were like, explore, Go and figure out what it is that you want to do. Look in all the directions. Let your curiosity be your guide, so to speak. That was another thing that was so helpful for me, was when Elizabeth Gilbert spoke about the curiosity-driven life and how your curiosity can really help you to explore new parts of yourself that you maybe didn't even know existed. So my parents were really great about, and whether they knew it or not, kind of allowing me the space to explore. Now, later on in life, that would play out as a career in music, which, you know, at the time I would speak about it being my passion and my purpose. There are loads of interviews of me saying that, when really it wasn't necessarily my passion or purpose, but it was what I chose to do at that time. Or, as I like to always say, it was my passion at the time. And I think that's something that we get confused about a lot, is that we sometimes think that our passion will remain the same always. And really that has not been the case for me. Now, let me say, this is not for everybody. Not everybody functions in this way. As Elizabeth Gilbert likes to say also, we also have people in the world, as she calls them, jackhammers, who can get on something, stick on it, make it happen, make it work. They're very logical, pragmatic. They know what happens next, X, Y, and Z. We need people like that. We need people who can stick and stay on that thing that they want to be doing. Then you have something called the hummingbirds, which I kind of am, which really kind of explains who the multi-potentialite is. And the hummingbird cross-pollinates the garden and kind of goes from this thing to that thing, and their experience with this helps them to be good at that, and it helps the whole system to work. So one is not better than the other. This is just how it is, and this is how we kind of exist in the world. The problem is, I find that for years there has been no acceptance for anything other than the jackhammer. I feel like there hasn't been enough room for the hummingbirds, and I feel often like we're not taken seriously. And people just tend to think that what we are doing is just something flitty-flighty or otherwise, and it's just not the case. So if I take it even a step further, just to tell you a little bit more about the things that I've done in my life and how my multi-potentiality has shown up all over and how I have really thrived because of it, I can go back again, like I said, from music. From music, I decided, you know what? I wanted to try running a business, owning a business, which I did. I opened a salon and operated a salon for about 4 years. Guys, I have never been to hair school. I wasn't personally doing hair, but I was now managing and hosting a space for stylists, for clients, for beauticians, the whole lot, to come together to create this space that I thought was missing from the market. So after that, I took some time out to try and figure out what was the next for me. I really wanted to use my voice again, but I didn't necessarily want to sing. And that's how I ended up doing a podcast, because I really wanted to also use my voice and voice my opinion and speak to people and hear about their lives and learn and grow. I have this insatiable appetite for learning new things. So that's how it works. I started a salon, insatiable appetite to learn, to write a business plan, to set up the business, to, figure out all of the bits and bobs that go with it. Wanted a podcast, insatiable appetite to learn. All of a sudden I have to learn about all the equipment. I have to know what editing software I'm using. How do I create the image that goes with the this, the that, the marketing side of it, love it. Then that lands me a year later in a job where I'm now presenting on radio, where I did that for a year, and all of those experiences before had come together to serve me in this way. And then you fast forward to doing the vlog and learning again how to edit, how to put things together, creating thumbnails, and all the opportunities that came with that. So the thread for me has always been the fact that I let my curiosity lead, but it's also I love to learn and I want to learn new things, and then I want to implement it, and then I want to do the thing, and then I want to see it come to life. And then I'm ready to try maybe the next thing. So that's kind of been my process over the last many years of how it kind of goes for me. But the whole point is that I'm never afraid to just kind of look and see what might be showing up next. And that curiosity that Elizabeth Gilbert talks about can show up in so many ways. Your life is telling you right now what you're curious about. Could be something that you saw on TV and you're like, oh, that's interesting. That's what curiosity says. That's interesting. I'm interested by that. That looks like fun. I wonder the process behind that. It could be anything from seeing, a recipe online, to seeing somebody do a dance move, to whatever it is. I don't know what it is. It's whatever just piques your interest, piques your curiosity. I love those moments because it's always something that just makes me go, huh? What could that be? And then I have the power to then look into it further, walk down the road. As Elizabeth Gilbert says, follow the breadcrumbs that show up after that. I don't know if you're hearing your own self in this description, or if you can even identify or relate to this. Please leave a comment below, because I know, I don't know why I said I don't know. I know there are so many people out there like myself. Oh, and also if you're not like this, I hope that this conversation is giving you an eye in to how other people's minds work and how they are fulfilled. And so it gives you some room to make room for other people who are different to you as well. So I kind of want to move on a little bit and talk about how you can thrive as a multi-potentialite. So I jotted down some things. My laptop is here in case you're wondering why I'm looking down, and I just kind of wanted to touch on them quickly. So the first thing I would say is that you have to embrace your diverse interests. So you don't have to feel like you have to choose just one thing to pursue. Instead, embrace your diverse interests and explore them as much as you can. This can help you to find connections between different fields and ideas, and it will lead you to new opportunities and paths. That's basically what I was just telling you about, how just sometimes following your curiosity, as diverse as they may be, and kind of finding how it is all linked together and how it can then create opportunities for new paths. Another important thing is to really focus on your strengths. As a multi-potentialite, sometimes you might feel like a jack of all trades, but a master of none. However, that's just not true. You probably have strengths and abilities that you can use to your advantage. So identify your strengths and just focus on how you can develop them further. Another great way to thrive as a multi-potentialite, I have found, is to create multiple streams of income. Now, this is really important to the multi-potentialite because chances are we're always working on something that it has not quite taken off yet or may take some time. And so in order to keep certain things going, we do have to have multiple streams going at the same time. And so as a multi-potentialite, it's just a great way to pursue diverse interests, but still maintain some financial stability. But the great thing about the multi-potentialite is that you can often find a way to monetize your skills, especially in today's world. Like, there are so many different ways, so many different things, so many options out there for you to monetize your skills, that actually what you have to be careful of as a multi-potentialite is not monetizing everything or turning everything into your job. One of the hardest things for me right now is to figure out what my hobby is, because my personality tends to want to make my hobby a job. I don't know if that makes sense, but I know what I'm saying here. Like, I have to be careful that I allow things that are fun for me to stay fun for me and not necessarily turn it into a job just because I'm good at it. The fourth thing I would say about thriving as a multi-potentialite is to make sure you're surrounded by like-minded people. Having a community as a multi-potentialite is so important, because more times than not, you can feel so incredibly lonely as a multi-potentialite. It's really great to have a support system when you are struggling with something, when you're trying to figure something out, or when you need advice, or just, when you need somebody to cheer you on. So having that type of community is so helpful and so important as you go on this journey. It doesn't have to be people that you already know. The world is so big now. You can get online. You can find different groups. You can create your own group. But just try to create your own community of people who you can kind of turn to be like, hey, this is what's happening. Quiet, boys. Boys, quiet. And the last thing I would say is that the most important thing for multi-potentialites is to keep learning. Learning is probably already one of your biggest passions. And I would say that if you continually create new opportunities to learn, you're gonna be so fulfilled. So keep feeding your curiosity, keep learning new skills, explore new interests. This is the joy and the passion of the multi-potentialite. It will literally help you to stay engaged and excited about life. And it can lead to new opportunities and paths. So while it can be incredibly challenging in many ways to be a multi-potentialite, it can be really rewarding as well. And I am a firm believer that we each have a voice and a place in this world that we need to fill up. And a big thing for me in 2023 is to take up my space. Listen, you might want to bake tarts. You might be the person out there who's like, I've always wanted to start a podcast, but I'm letting all these things stop me from doing it. If I would say anything to you, if you're a multi-potentialite listening today, and even if you're not, I would say to you, go for it. I know that you're probably doing something that looks nothing like what you have in mind for yourself, but your interest can be so diverse, as I've said earlier, and you can go for it. You can be a lawyer and a baker. You can be a teacher and a singer-songwriter. You can be a YouTuber and a podcaster. I think the greatest gift I ever got as a multi-potentialite was one single word. And I always like to tell this story about, when we ask our kids what they want to be, how important it is that we don't just make them choose one thing. And that's something that I got as a kid. I was able to say many things. So even now, you might be tempted to say to your child, what do you want to become? And they say, oh, I want to be a fireman, a doctor, and a baker. And you go, oh, but you have to choose one. That is so damaging to the multi-potentialite in us that we don't even maybe realize it. And so if I could ask you to take a minute even now to think about your ands and to even go into that inner child, take some time to maybe journal and figure out what else little you would have said and the answers that come up. I think it's easy for you to actually access right now, if you're being really honest with yourself, the thing that even just sparks some interest. Where is your curiosity? What are you thinking about? What kind of never goes away? And is it something that you can explore, even just a little bit? You don't have to go into everything all at once or all or nothing to have a fulfilled life. You just have to take a little look in that direction to really be able to have that full human experience that we all want and deserve. So that would be my little thing for you today. Just go ahead, have a little self-exploration, a little self-introspection. And I'd love for you to even share with me in the comments that little thing, that little curiosity, that little breadcrumb that keeps popping up for you. And I don't care how crazy it sounds. I don't care how far-fetched it seems. And I don't care how far away from you it seems. I know that it is possible. And I want you to feel that for yourself. But even if you can't believe it is possible for yourself today, I just want you to give yourself the room to just dream a little bit. So yeah, leave some comments for me. Let me know what's on your heart, what's on your mind, what's piquing your interest a little bit. And I would love to hear more about it. And I hope that in the comment section, you guys can encourage each other to follow your breadcrumbs of your life and follow your curiosity, as Elizabeth Gilbert tells us to do, and open yourselves to the possibility of having an even more fulfilled life. and open yourself to the possibility that your best days are ahead of you and that something else may be in store for you. How exciting. If you found yourself in this podcast listening to this and saying, oh, that's me, oh, yes, I get it, please research it some more. There's so many resources out there kind of helping people who are multipotentialites to learn more about themselves so that you can be the best version of yourself. If you don't identify with a multipotentialite at all, that is perfectly fine. But like I said earlier, I hope it gives you the room, like I said, to give us a little more space in this world to show up as we do. As always, guys, I so appreciate all of you for sharing this space with me and helping me to fulfill yet another part of my multipotentiality. It's kind of hard word to say, but I'm grateful for it. Every time you show up and I show up, it means the world. So thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Share this episode with somebody who you think might identify with it, who you think it might be helpful for. And definitely tune in again next week when I'll bring you a completely new episode of Tami Tackles Everything. Just a little tidbit that I'm trying to get together all of my past fake cooking show recipes to put together here as well for you, and all kinds of other niceness. I also want to say a big thank you to everybody who was so kind about last week's episode and the wonderful comments you left for myself and especially my mommy. You have no idea what it meant to her when you opened up in the comment section and shared your vulnerability with her and was even able to say things like, me too, Nana, I've experienced that. It made it so worth it for her to have shared in that way and to have opened up in that way and to be so vulnerable. And I'm really grateful about that. So thank you, guys. All right, I love you so much. I'm gonna get back to my mega day and I'll see you all soon. Mwah.